This is your official spoiler warning for Doctor Who Season 2. If you have yet to see Doctor Who Season 2 and would like to avoid spoilers, then please click off now, although the spoilers are probably going to be pretty light anyways. With that said, let's get started. So, having reviewed every single episode of Doctor Who Season 2, it's time to discuss the thing as a whole, which is what I'm going to be doing with every season of Classic Who, I hope. So, overall, this season was enjoyable, although not as consistent as the first season. I thought the first season just had more strong episodes, and while this one had higher highs, it also definitely had higher lows, or lower lows, of course. So, yeah. I am going to mention the bigger events that actually happen in terms of the characters that leave and stuff, so if that's something you definitely don't want to hear, then definitely don't watch this video, but if you probably know, so you could probably watch it anyway. So anyway, just running through the season real quick. Planet of the Giants, I think, is underrated. I think it's cheesy, super cheesy, but it's also just a lot of fun. I love just how much fun these actors seem to be having, and just at least how much fun I have while watching these people, just acting so silly with these giant props of small things. It's just fun for me to see that, and I just think they have fun with it. Although it does go a little far with the plot of the real people in that episode, trying to make sense of everything that they do. But you know, it's still really entertaining for me. Although the more I think about it, the less I like it. Although I do still like it. So moving on from that is the Dalek invasion of Earth, which I really like. It's a 6-parter, so you'd think it might drag, but it definitely doesn't. It's just really solid. There's only maybe like one episode where it drags a little bit, but like aside from that, it's just strong. We go to the future, 150 years from the future, I think, from when it's set, but I could be wrong. I might be misremembering, or maybe 200 years. I forget. It's really good. I love this Dalek story and how we see these people, just our main characters, go into the situation just be completely surprised by everything that's going on, and how they take out the Daleks and everything. It's just really strong stuff. And the ending, what happens at the ending, like I said before, little spoilers, when the Doctor leaves his granddaughter for her benefit. I mean, just talking about it right now, I'm just feeling that, and I'm like, oh my god. Everything he says there in that speech is amazing, and it makes sense. He did for her what she couldn't do for herself, and I love that. It's a great episode. It's just a great classic Doctor Who episode. Moving on from that is The Rescue, where we are introduced to Vicky. Vicky is basically, it's hard to not think of her as the replacement Susan, but she's all right off the start. You know, we don't spend a lot of time with her yet. We're just getting to know her, but The Rescue. It's not a great episode. It's kind of fun. It is not fantastic though. It could be stronger, and it's got some weaker stuff in it, some weaker elements, but overall it's entertaining. So moving on from The Rescue, we get to The Romans. The Romans is basically the same level of quality as The Rescue. This time we are going to, I don't know what century this is in. Sorry, I'm uneducated. But we're dealing with Romans, okay? So that time period, and it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of a fun episode. The first episode actually of this, I was not very entertained by, and I was like, oh, is this the level of quality we're dealing with? Because it was like, oh, a lot of it was kind of like, is this really what we're doing? Like, I was kind of bored, and there was some kind of stuff that I cringed at a little bit. But then the further it went, the more it really went into the just kind of the fun craziness of it, and it was just an entertaining episode, and the way it ended was pretty solid. So yeah, I did think this was a solid enough episode. Although the first one, it does take a little bit to get into. So anyway, moving on from there, we have the Web Planet. So the Web Planet, I mean, there's supporters of this episode out there. I'm not one of them. If you watched my review, you know why. I was bored to death with this episode. It's 6 parts long. It's really silly, and sometimes that works for me, like, Planet of Giants, but this one is twice as long, and it's so long, and I was so bored, and I really didn't care about anything that was happening, and I just could not, I just really was so bored with this one. I just don't know if I've ever been this bored with Classic Who. Well, actually, there's another episode from much later that I was more bored by, probably. Anyway, this episode I really was not a fan of this one. Anyway, moving on from that, I don't have much to say. The Crusade, the Crusade. What was the Crusade? Oh, I just remembered it. So the Crusade's pretty solid. There's one episode in particular that stands out because of some stuff with Barbara and this little girl that, if you haven't seen, I'm not gonna describe it for you, but I think this episode's halfway missing, if I recall. I can't quite remember. But it is a good episode, and I'm glad I saw it. And the Crusade is, it's solid enough. It's a 4-parter, and it doesn't waste your time really. So I like that. Moving on from there, we have the Space Museum. I really like the first episode of the Space Museum. It's so weird. There's lots of strange stuff going on. I just really enjoy when there's strange stuff going on, I guess. And then it gets not so good as it goes on, but it's still good. It just gets less interesting and less mysterious, and we deal with more of a conflict that I don't find to be as interesting as the mystery of what's going on in this situation. I'm being vague with my descriptions, but if you've seen the episode, then you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was a really solid one. Moving on from there, we have the chase. The chase. How do I describe the chase? The chase is like if every episode is basically the main characters running from one set piece, running away from the Daleks, to another set piece, and then they run to another set piece, and then they run to another set piece, and the Daleks are just right behind them every single time, and they're like, oh, we just missed them. Let's go find them. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting bored talking about it because it's 6 parts long and it drags out. And there's some good stuff in it at parts, but lots of it just drags and drags. And this is our introduction to Steven as well. And like I said, spoilers before, this is the departure of Barbara and Ian, which was, I think, the best part of the episode was the ending when they left. That was unfortunate. I did not want them to leave, obviously, because I really like Barbara. And actually, something I forgot to mention in this season review, which is probably pretty important. This season helped me to enjoy Ian more as a character, and I've come to like him more, especially his dynamic relationship with Barbara. So he is good. I'm glad that he was in the second season and improved more in this one. Since I brought them up, while I'm here, I'm going to talk about Susan. If you want to know my thoughts on Susan, I think probably it's better to go into my review of the Dalek Invasion of Earth, because I talked about how I felt about that character there. I don't think she was perfect. There were elements of her that I liked. I don't think she was used to her full potential. But her exiting of the show was really, really, really solid. So moving on from the chase, we go to the Time Meddler, where we now have the Doctor and Vicky and Steven. Steven's brand new. Vicky has not been around a while. I think during this season, I came to like Vicky a bit. So Vicky, she's just kind of smart, Like we see elements of how, like, oh, this person's actually pretty smart, which I like. I like that she's smart, And then Steven's like new and kind of like doesn't really know what's going on a lot of the time. But he's only been in like one real episode of this season, so we'll get more of him next season. But yeah, this season was just more rocky for me. I thought the first season was a solid introduction, and this one didn't really live up to the potential that it could have gotten to. But it was good, and it had really good episodes in it, like the Dalek Invasion of Earth, which is 6 parts and is great. But it also has 6 episodes like the Web Planet, which are boring. Super boring. So it's rocky. That's my biggest problem with it. But yeah, I enjoyed this. At this point I have already seen the next season, so the reviews haven't come out yet, but I've written them and we'll record them and we'll get those out to you. So yeah, really enjoyed this season. Overall, good stuff. Rocky, but good stuff with the characters, and I've come to really like the Doctor quite a lot more after watching this season. Just the more I spend time with this first Doctor, the more I see his fun side, and the more I just enjoy seeing him on screen, man. Like, I just quite like William Hartnell as the first Doctor. I've come to quite like him, and seeing Barbara and Ian go was unfortunate. I really liked Barbara. I've said that before, and I'll say it again probably. But it was unfortunate to see her go, and we haven't spent a lot of time with the new characters, but we'll see where they go from here. So overall, this season was rocky, but it did still have some strong stuff, and I'm going to give Doctor Who Season 2 a rating of 7.5 out of 10. So anyway, that's going to do it for now, folks. I've reviewed Doctor Who Season 2. We're now going to be moving on to Doctor Who Season 3, more classic Doctor Who. And then, eventually we'll get to another season of Doctor Who here, another new season. But for now, it's just classic Doctor Who. I love watching it. I love talking about it. Having fun doing that. So anyway, thank you for sticking around. I hope to see you next Sunday when I talk about whatever the first episode of Season 3 is. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but possibly you can, if you're smarter than me. So anyway, thank you for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.